Behold, America's first car. Well, you don't believe me? What does this have that this doesn't have? I mean, when you think about it, they're really similar. Let's see, 4 wheels, check. Self-propelled, check. Brakes? Well, no. But hear me out. This is America's first car. Well, is this a car at all? It really depends on what we define as a car in the first place and how strict we adhere to that definition. A self-propelled land vehicle that doesn't run on tracks? Then this is a car. Does it need 4 wheels? If so, then this isn't the first production car. This is a car, but this isn't? Come on, this is sort of like trying to define a chair. We can identify a chair fairly easily, but try and lock it down with the definition, and some little shit like me is going to challenge it. And how we define a car seems to be a little malleable, because if this thing was made in 1910, we would say that it was a car. But we don't call it a car today. Do our standards of what a car loosen with time? If we go back far enough, is this a car? I don't know. But something to think about. But regardless of dumb semantics, this thing is extremely significant. I promise I'll be brief, but we gotta first talk about the man who made this car boat. And that man is none other than an American genius by the name of Oliver Evans. Evans was born in 1755 in the Delaware colony, and like many people of his time, his formal education was not that much. He would begin his professional career as a wheelwright before working with his brothers, where he would spend 10 years or so designing an automated mill that in theory could work without human intervention. A few years later, Evans would focus on steam engines, particularly high-pressure steam engines. Also, he invented the idea for air conditioning. The same system used in most air conditioners today is the one that he penned in 1805. Pretty neat. Evans would experiment with ideas for his whole life, with concepts for machine guns, gas lamps, and all the works. But unfortunately, he was hard to get along with and would struggle for backing with his projects, and would die in 1819 and kind of faded into obscurity, which is a shame considering that he was so brilliant and really helped to bring along the Industrial Revolution, especially in America. You really should read about him after this video. Okay, back to the car. So in the early 1800s, Evans probably got this idea in his head to promote his high-pressure steam engines and to show what they could be used for. So he approached the Philadelphia Department of Health around maybe 1804, 1803, with the idea to build a steam-powered dredging boat to clear the city's ports. Up to this point, all of the dredging machines had relied on wind and animal and human power, so the idea must have seemed a little bit out there. But not too much, because Evans managed to convince the city to pay for what must have been a massively expensive machine, and not only that, he convinced them to pay in advance, which in hindsight seems like it was a bad idea, because the project was not able to be finished with the current amount of money, and soon enough, Evans had to go back to the city and beg for more money to finish the project. Luckily for him, and for the sake of this video, the city granted him the funds, and in 1805, his factory, the Mars Iron Works, would finish the first American land vehicle to run under its own power. The workers there never knew it, but motoring history was made that day. The vehicle, named the Oruktor Amphibolos, which is Greek for amphibious dredger, measured a whopping 30 feet long, or roughly 3 Fiat 500s in length. By the way, quick aside, my Fiat 500 at Barth blew up recently. I'm devastated. Just stay away from them unless you want your heart broke. Anyways, it was also 12 feet wide and weighed, quote, 161 barrels of flour, or in modern speak, 17 tons. Paired with a 5-horsepower steam engine, the Eruptor was not fast, but it was the highest power-to-weight vehicle in the entire Western Hemisphere at the time. Now at this moment, you might be a bit confused. This vehicle is supposed to be a dredging machine for the water. Why then is it a land vehicle? Well, Mr. Evans, instead of building the machine near the water, built the Eruptor a mile away, meaning that he now had to get it where it could actually do work. A normal person might use a team of horses to move it there, or just build the damn thing next to the water, But not Evans. He thought that this would be a great proof of concept for road steam engines, and for promoting his steam engines, of course. To do it, he attached wooden wheels and a system of pulleys that ran off of the engine that kind of acted as a makeshift transmission and driveline. As far as I can make out, though, there is no steering mechanism. Maybe he alternated belts from side to side, or maybe he powered both sides when he wanted to go straight. And if that is the case, then this is also America's and the world's first four-wheel drive car. And the initial drive was, well, a failure. The wooden wheels were insufficient and broke under the weight of 17 tons, leaving the machine completely stranded. But soon enough, Evans would get it going again, this time with heavier wheels, and would parade around the center square. The public was fascinated by the massive, puffing, boat-like contraption moving down the roads that had only ever seen horse carriages up to this point. Not much is said about this event, but if the crowd seeing horseless carriages in the 1880s can be any indication of the interest that people had, then this must have drawn an enormous crowd. It's even reported that Evans monetized the publicity and charged 25 cents for people to gawk at it and to pay his staff, who ultimately paid to repair the wheels. After a few days showing off the Oruktor Amphibolos, he would place it into the water to do work for the city. And sadly, as a dredging machine, it kinda sucked. It only served for 3 years before finally being scrapped in 1808. The low power and, in my guess, high cost of running it, along with the technical knowledge needed to make it work, made it kinda unattractive. In the end, the Oruktor Amphibolos would disappear and not be mentioned for, from what I can see, about 50 years. Evans would try to encourage steam travel on turnpikes and railroads, but would be unsuccessful. Hindsight is 2020, but it makes sense why nobody wanted to pursue this project further. The Oruktor Amphibolos was massive and unwieldy and expensive, and was kind of like the Amphibicar. It was a meh car and a bad boat. If he had focused his efforts on a steam carriage exclusively, history might have been a lot different. But let's not forget that in 1805, at the helm, Oliver Evans stunned the public at what in time would become known as America's first ever car.